on sports!
All right there, people. We're back here. Patty has just sent a pus picture. Oh, my God. That could be the most disgusting thing I've seen. I won't inject it, but Patty's comment, these are disgusting. I would not touch this pus bag without 30 days.
That about sums it
I
up.
think it's a little more technical than with a 10-foot pole, but I understand the concept.
That's even nastier than a Matt Murray picture with, stuff drawn around his eyes.
Okay.
Right?
Exactly. Why does she hate so much, Gary?
I don't know. We need them both.
We all just love our Pittsburgh Penguins.
We need them both. We're going to win it.
Oh, man. Well, we got the Super Bowl coming up, which we'll talk about at the end of our little segment here. But we have the food. We have the food lineup, I'm thinking here, and you can add some suggestions there, Fletch. I think we're going to put in a brisket.
Nice.
I think we're going to do a few burn ends. Okay, I'm unfrozen here.
You're seizing.
But can you hear me? Tommy?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you, but you're stuck.
You're like a goddamn Godzilla movie going on right now. Oh, nice, very nice. Well, Dave, I think that I will make some fresh salsa then to bring to you.
I say this to do, and I can't make it.
This week was a tough So, I've known you.
Team pick.
Unbelievable.
2008 NBA Most Valuable Player. Led the league in scoring twice on scoring. Difficult personality as a teammate for much of his career. Couldn't make it work out with Shaq. They won championships together, but it just got to be too much. Dwight Howard, we thought that was going to be another, golden era for the Lakers, but they couldn't coexist. But then something happened to him where he blew out his Achilles, and it changed him. He was no longer that completely dominant player that he was before, but he still worked hard. No one ever had his work ethic. But he became a kinder person on the basketball court. He became more of a mentor to people around him. I mean, that's the thing that gets me, watching the way the whole league reacted to this, is that a lot of these guys had never met him, but yet he was seen as this mentor toward them.
Yep.
He was huge in the Olympic movement. I mean, when he was at the Olympics, he was watching the other games that were going on. He was cheering on his American teammates. None of the other professional basketball players who played in the Olympics were doing that.
Agreed.
He also was a proponent of women's sports. I mean, it's funny, he never had a son. He had daughters, and he was prepping his daughter to follow and to be in the WNBA. I think he even trademarked Mambacita was going to be her. And the fact that, we lose her in this accident as well. You mentioned it, David, it was a Clemente moment. It really was. Interesting discussion going on now. They're talking about, there's some support for this, having him replace Jerry West as the logo of the NBA. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I'm not sure how I feel about it either. Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, then let's look at baseball. Let's replace Harmon Killebrew as well. Let's update both of them. But the question I have, too, is where does he fit among the Laker greats? I mean, to me, Wilt, Kareem, Magic, Kobe, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor.
Baylor, yeah.
I would probably put Baylor either with Kobe or right behind him. I think he's fourth. He's not in the top three. I certainly would take Jabbar Johnson and Wilt over him.
Yep.
But I mean, you're talking about being among
Hair splitting.
players that
Yeah, hair splitting. Yep.
For me, the moment I remember most, I was at Nemacolin. It was right before Dylan, my son, was born, and we were up there, and I went to watch the playoff game where they came back against Portland, where for the first half I thought, oh my God, this team is done. And to see just the passion between him and Shaq and how they came back in that game and then went on to win a championship, just incredible.
That was a great Portland team too.
And Jerry West just listening to him talk about it, and it was a very difficult day. Gary, you and I were texting back and forth much of the day.
Yep. I got a couple other observations whenever you're finished.
Yeah, go. This is something we talk about.
Here's a couple of things that I think just to me are the saddest part of it. The league's got an image problem now. Let's face it. People don't like you saying that, but it does. As Chris pointed out, at the beginning of his career, he was kind of he was a high school All-American. He was one of the best high school players you ever saw when I talked to people around here. That time in my life, I was taking care of my parent who was sick, but I didn't see a lot of him when I was here, but people told me he's the greatest player I ever saw in high school. I think they won a state championship back-to-back. He was a petulant, kind of spoiled brat kind of player when he came into the league, and even saw a little bit of that when O'Neal was there. They couldn't coexist probably because we're two alpha males. But as his career rolled on, he became the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
He became a tremendous teammate. Yeah, he pushed you, but on the other hand, he pushed teams to win that really weren't the same as some of the great teams he was on early in his career. He moved the ball more. He was defensive player of the year, a number of things. And honestly, the last title, when they beat the Celtics, I guess that was the last title, that was a crowning moment for him. Let's face it, because he was already late in his career at that point from an NBA standpoint. And it was just a tremendous thing. But the league's loss is huge because all the things that Chris said and people are talking about, which is something, he's kind of like Crosby in a way. He does a lot of stuff he never talks about.
Right.
This is my issue with some of these current guys, and even on ESPN, they use that forum to market themselves. That's not what Kobe was doing. He was promoting women's sports. Yeah, he had 4 daughters. He was pumping money into women's programs and supporting the soccer because of his Italian days. He was a good representative for a lot of things. He was a good representative for basketball. And you can just see that either in the Lakers organization, which needs to be a prominent one like we talked about in the NBA, or the league itself, he was headed for much bigger and better things, it seemed to me. And he spoke well. He had a good smile. He became a happy guy, but he was also a direct guy. And not a guy that was always rabble-rousing either. It's really the biggest loss for the league because I think he would have been – I just got the feeling he was kind of headed for bigger and better things. And when he was right, that I don't remember. I didn't see live that night he scored 83, but there was a couple times I remember him scoring 55 or whatever. He was one of those guys when he was on. It was absolutely beautiful to watch. He could do everything. He'd drive and dunk and score from the outside. He was just beautiful to watch when he was on.
And he studied under Michael Jordan. I mean, if you look at some of the moves, he echoed them. But a couple other things that I think about too is he wanted the ball at the end of the game.
Yep.
The other team knew he was getting the ball at the end of the game, and they still couldn't stop him.
Yep.
And the other thing is he would take your best player and he would shut him down.
He definitely did.
No, he
definitely did.
Great all-around player. Although I will say that final game 60-point thing was
the end. Yeah, that was a little bit contrived.
I thought that
was contrived.
Yeah.
Not how it should have happened.
No, I don't think so. And the NBA is guilty of this kind of stuff sometimes. And hopefully we don't have ridiculous stuff going on now to respect the guy with stuff that goes on. I understand the 24 seconds rule. I get a few of that now. Let's not hope it goes on for 6 months.
Yeah.
Back to the game, which is what he would probably say, a guy like him.
Right.
And he would. And that was the neat thing about him. I mean, I got to tell you, I wasn't I wasn't a fan early on of his. I
Right.
didn't like his
Right.
attitude. Certainly there were some controversies there you didn't like, but this guy
Yep.
grew up. And
Yep.
as you say, Fletch, he was a different player, and he was, and I respect that. I respect when somebody, I mean, we all tend to be, well, maybe you guys, but not me, but most people tend to be a-holes when they're young. I always did respect the fact that as he grew older in the league, he grew up.
Well,
And let me add when you're done, Chris. There's two things I want to add to that. That's right up our alley that he was great at. But go ahead, Chris.
I mean, he's also a good redemption story.
Yep.
He was able to really take a really horrendous thing that happened and own up to it and move on, and change his behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's that
Not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
Not when you're in the life that those guys lead. That's the negative side of professional sports. It's a weird life they're leading. So
It is.
yeah. But I mean, two things are right up our alley that he also never gets credit for. Similar to Manning and similar to Cormier and MMA on ESPN, he was a tremendous analyst. You'd watch that show, and I'm not a big basketball fan, but I watched it a few times. He was a tremendous analyzer of like why this guy can do this and why this one can't. That's a huge loss too, because not a lot of people in the NBA really do that well.
Well, and he knew the history of the game.
That's
he was a student of the game.
He's right up our alley. I can't, as his career rolled on and he matured, he gave respect that I think is one of the biggest frustrations about the current league for me, and I'm going to leave some of the other names out of it. But actually, James does that okay too. But my point is, Bryant always talked about the Big O. He talked about the 60s, the dominance of he talked about it. He studies kind of as Maniac Tyson was. Tyson did that in boxing too. You got to respect guys like that. The world's not just you now. You got here because of everything that led up to it. And Brian talked about that stuff an awful lot as his career rolled on, and particularly after his career was over, whenever he was interviewed.
And he wins an Academy Award for a short film about his love of basketball.
Yep.
Yeah.
And children's books that were New York Times bestsellers, which is maybe it's because of his name, but still it's amazing. So,
but he really in retirement he embraced being a family man too.
Yep.
He was there supporting his daughters. He was supporting women's sports, and that's really the saddest thing about it. Yep. 41 years old is way too early.
Yep. Right. I think his impacts would have been bigger in both the league, basketball in general, and some other stuff too. I really do. He had that charismatic personality that way as he matured. I think he would have been that.
God, I love watching those Laker teams with him and Shaq.
Yep.
That I did enjoy watching.
They were great clubs.
There
were some tough teams they beat too, boy. Sacramento and Portland teams were great teams.
I enjoyed the Boston Celtics Kevin Garnett team. No, it certainly was a huge loss. I felt bad for you, especially Fletcher, as a Laker fan. And I always wondered how it would have been if Clemente was killed during the social media age. I think his number would be retired by now. If
probably. Yeah.
And I don't like the fact, as you know, I'm not a fan of the retire 21. I didn't necessarily like the retire 42. I'm an old school retire the numbers of guys who starred for you as
your organization. Yep.
And not a fan of the Mavericks retiring his number. Although I like the respect they're giving it. Don't get me
He's
wrong.
always looking to grab attention still. Cuban, it's in his DNA. He's not going to stop doing it. But yeah.
I can't put myself around retiring, and the reason is because there's so many great people out there who have done so much for the sport.
Yep.
It's almost like you're disrespecting their efforts by choosing one or two other guys. I understand why they're choosing them, and it's certainly noble why they're choosing them, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
I guess the other thing, Dave, for me is that even with Clemente, we were robbed of that farewell, that bring him back. Think of the 1994 All-Star game in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, how good that would have been. I agree.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's.
You introduce the greatest right fielder in Pittsburgh Pirates history, and he comes on the field.
Yeah. No.
With Kobe, you could have had Bill Russell moments where you bring him out and
totally.
No,
and that's the thing that I'm going to miss.
Yep.
Certainly a crushing moment. It is the moment you're going to remember where you were.
His future to help the league and I think to turn some of the bad perception of the league, I think would have been immense. And I think I got to believe a lot of people feel the same way. So
right, and it might have been. I'm not sure with the big egos in sports that it would have had as great of an effect as what you think, but he would have been a good ambassador. He was a good.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I mean, he certainly was a good ambassador.
Yeah.
And, there are things that hopefully the NBA. I was, as I go on looking up Chuck Cooper, I'm just so glad they are taking his message and really emphasizing such an exceptional guy and it's also good that things are coming out about Kobe at this point. His turn to Catholicism.
Yeah, I mean, he was a man of faith.
Yeah.
I read a couple articles I didn't realize.
No, and I was so glad.
I didn't know that until recently. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So glad to see that, and
I mean, not to disrespect it, but you read some of the news now. They shouldn't have gone up there.
No,
it's really a shame that way. The pilot was an experienced pilot, but
many should never have gotten on that plane. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah, that's the comparison to Clemente right there.
It's very similar that way. Yeah.
I mean, and you look at some of the tragic deaths by plane. In Marciano's another.
Marciano, right?
Yeah. I don't know how many you look at, and again, the comparison to Clemente and Bryant. I mean,
not many. Yeah,
there were specific things that they shouldn't have been on those planes.
Yep.
And I don't know that the other ones you can say that. Ken Hubbs, certainly would have been tragic.
I mean, our friend Doug Kavanaugh mentioned that was a bad week. That people who haven't been there, and Chris, you live there. People who haven't been there don't realize that in some ways it's a dangerous place with all those canyons and there's hills.
Oh, it is.
People don't realize that it's beautiful, but it's dangerous, and particularly for flights.
That's why they never should have been. They never should have been.
Should not have gone up there with those canyons and stuff. That's correct.
Yeah.
A shame. It's really a shame.
That's what irritates you about this. That's what irritates you about Clemente is you felt you got cheated.
Yes, well, like Chris said. Yep.
Yeah, because they cheated because they died in a situation that they never should have been in the middle of.
Right. Right.
I was listening to Tom Walker, Neil Walker's father, talk on the Fan the other day. Chilling memories of. I had known he was there. I had read off things, but I never heard the story specifically from him.
Yeah, Clemente told him stay, don't go.
Yeah.
And, knowing the left engine was bad, and knowing, these are things you shouldn't have gotten on that plane. He shouldn't have gotten on that, and they had special permission that they weren't giving others for him to fly. Why? Why were they given special permission? It's
very bizarre, yeah, and that will come out. I mean, the LA Police Department with their helicopters for traffic and stuff grounded them all.
Yeah.
Because of the fog and the weather that Doug referred to. Doug Kavanaugh, our buddy, referred to.
Well,
here's another thing, and this is really there was a rumor, and in fact, I think when I communicated with you guys, there was a rumor that it was pretty clear James was probably going to break it around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. James always scores in double figures. I think what do you only need 14 or something, I think.
Well, he broke it. Yeah.
Right. But my point is there was talk because Cody's really popular back here. He's always talked about Philly. He's getting cheesesteaks sent to his home in California and places. He's popular here. There was talk that he was going to be here. If he would have been here, ...
Yeah.
So,
he wouldn't have gone back. He wouldn't have been back in time. So
yeah. I mean,
hey guys, can I ask a favor here?
Sure.
Let's talk about some happier things about the big game coming up this weekend.
Sounds good.
How's that for a transition, Dave? I took your transition hat away from you. Sorry.
It's a good transition. Let's talk about the Pirate Clubhouse last year. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's forget that one. Let's completely forget that one.
Yeah, no.
Vernon held one of them, and the rest of them, goodbye. I'm not sure I even want Crick or some of them around, to be candid with you, if he's listening. I'd like to gut some of it, but yeah.
Yeah, but we'll talk happier. We'll talk. There's just something neat about Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Something neat in the fact that they've had so many good teams over the last 50 years and always fell short. And to me, that Super Bowl IV team, the Lenny Dawson team.
I loved them.
Love that team. Best of the NFL films of the Super Bowl.
Matriculating. I'm matriculating. You know.
Yeah, he was a piece of work, Stram himself. Yeah.
65 horsepower trap, boys.
Yeah.
If you look at Hank Stram on Pornhub, it gives matriculating a whole new definition. Matriculating downfield, boys.
But the team that really broke my heart, though, Dave, the Chiefs team, was the Ed Podolak team that lost the longest game in NFL history.
Dolphins game, yeah. Dolphins game. Was it day before?
A kicker who's the first kicker in the Hall of Fame misses 2 field goals that could have won it. Just
it's horrible. It's horrible.
I love that Chiefs team. My first electric football game I had was an AFL set. I had the Jets and the Chiefs.
Oh, two classics.
Still one of the best helmets in football. Still one of the best.
Oh,
we're gonna call it the curse of Fletcher, because neither team has been back to the Super Bowl since their AFL days.
That's true.
It's true.
They broke the curse of Fletcher.
It's true.
But what great fans in Kansas City.
Didn't the Dolphins get there with Marino, though, against the Redskins?
They got there once. 84 against the 49ers.
Dolphins got there against the 49ers, yeah. Marino was there.
That was
neither the Jets nor the Chiefs.
That's who you're afraid of. Jets and Chiefs, no. Yeah, right, okay.
But, 49ers probably have the best overall team. They have what I would consider the best defense in football. An offense.
Good running game.
It's a power.
Good running game, yeah.
That I'm hoping other people copy, because nothing is better than a good power game. I love
Pound it, Dave.
I still like that kind of football myself. I agree. Yep.
But that being said, great players win Super Bowls. Mahomes is a great player. He's the heir apparent. He's a guy with ice in his veins. He can do what it takes to win a game. He might not have the speed of Jackson, but man, he has a football sense next to nobody. And those are guys that win game. Montana, when you look at him from a talent standpoint, he's average. He's average. But you add in a football IQ off the charts, and all of a sudden that's what makes you a great quarterback. Brady is a great quarterback because of his football IQ, not because of his arm strength.
Right.
And then that's what is different about this kid. I don't know that I look down and see he has the intangibles or the specifics with arm strength and talent here, talent there. But what this guy has, it's next to none, is his football IQ.
Well, keep in mind, too, the way they moved up in the draft to get him, when Alex Smith had a hell of a year the year before they drafted him. He had, 30-some touchdowns and like 5 or 6 interceptions. I mean, he looked like he was, but he didn't have that mobility. He didn't have that sort of the intangibles that you speak of.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. It's going to be I like this game. I like both teams. So I'm happy that I'm hoping for one of those classic Super Bowls,
Well, and it could be, because
I think it could be.
With some quarterbacks, you feel confident with them when they're down by a touchdown late in the game. This kid, you feel confident with down 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's the difference between him and somebody else, is he's never out of a game. That was what made Brady so special.
Yep.
The other thing, guys, is we are officially seeing the changing of the guard. You think about this. When was the last time the AFC had a Super Bowl that you didn't have either Flacco, Roethlisberger, Manning, or Brady start?
Been a long, long time. Been a long time, 20 years.
I'm going to say 2000. I'm
20
looking
years.
it up for you right now.
It's got to be 20 years. I mean, Brady's half of them or more. And Roethlisberger's 2 or 3, right? So it's got to be a long time.
We're going to go to Richard Simmons' Fantasy Sports to find out that answer.
I'd have to think back of every year, but it's got to be more. It's at least more than.
You had 2 Flaccos.
Yeah.
You had
looks like 2014 was Peyton wasn't on the Broncos in 2014.
I think he was.
Yeah, he was.
He was on
Yeah,
there for 3 years.
Yeah, he was. That when they played who did they play in Seattle?
Yeah. Was he on that?
Yeah, remember he had a bad game. Remember the Seattle just
they won because of their defense.
Seattle dominated them up in New York, up at Metropolitan Stadium.
We're looking at 2003. Tampa Bay.
It's got to be a long time, man.
Tampa Bay, Oakland was the last one without him.
Yeah, and Oakland would have been Gannon, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty
17 years.
incredible.
17
That's
years.
an incredible run.
And Brady's half of them, but yeah, it's still 17 years.
Yeah.
I think it could be a hell of a game because they're kind of different teams. I mean, the one thing that I keep saying all the time, use the tight end and the fullback. The Chiefs do it. The Chiefs use those 2 positions in the passing game and the offense. A lot of teams just forget those positions.
They both have freakish tight ends.
And that's a weapon. That's a huge weapon. Remember Mark Bavaro and guys that's a huge weapon that organizations just got away from.
But San Francisco, I mean, you got a blocking beast of a tight end also besides being a pass catcher.
Yeah. Well, and that's what
use those positions.
So is just they play old-fashioned football.
Old school football, correct.
The other thing that's interesting that you don't see happen a lot, and we didn't see it really in Denver, where you have a great player who ascends to be a general manager. It's not always successful.
Nope.
John Lynch has done a hell of a job there in San Francisco with that team and turning it around.
And to his credit, he also managed to get out some really bad characters with bad behavior.
He did.
Wow, he did it. Again, public relations. These are public organizations. These are local organizations with a public reputation. Lynch managed to do that.
Here's the thing that you learn. It's not just, yes, you need talent to win, but you need character, you need winning philosophies, you need guys who are going to give you 100% every game.
Yeah.
And who buy into what the team is selling. You don't have to be necessarily the most talented offense with 2 very selfish people on it like the Steelers had.
Especially in a combat, dangerous sport.
Sure.
You can get away with a little bit in baseball and basketball. I don't think you can get away with it when you're in a sport of carnage.
No.
It's just harder to get away with that. That's right.
Boy, and they put a beat down on Green Bay twice during the year too. They really
did. A pretty good team in its own right.
So it has the potential just to be a fun Super Bowl. I'm going to make my prediction here.
Go.
Okay. I'm going to say Kansas City 32, San Francisco 27. I'm going to say they win by 5, coming back. Garrett.
I like the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a little higher, actually. I think both these teams can move the football. The Super Bowls, as time has rolled on, last year excluded, which I think was just a poor execution game. Most of the Super Bowls lately have a lot more points. They're fun. I like Kansas City, but like a 35-31 type of game. But I do think they might come back. I can see the 49ers coming out fast. But they're a little younger. The Chiefs have a few more veterans, coaching staff and everything else, and I could see the pressure of that game. I could see the Chiefs kind of pulling out late. Also due to the fact that Mahomes is just – he seems like he's got something. I hate this. You just got to admit it. He's got something. So –
I got the Chiefs 42-35. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Wild, I agree. Yep.
Boy, I'm hoping to be entertained. There's something. When the Steelers aren't in it, it's it's something to be able to watch a Super Bowl and not have that horrible feeling in your stomach the entire time,
That's
where you
what-
can
that's-
concentrate
That's
on
what the person I
eating.
lived with for 38 years says about every hockey game too.
You know, it
Right.
does make you a little better in the wallet too. When you're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You don't have to go out and buy all this stuff afterwards. Yeah.
I hope they have AFC stuff left over if they lose the Super Bowl. Because you know it's
Well,
illegal to buy an AFC champion pennant before the Super Bowl. 'Cause you-
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's always been your thing. Yeah.
yeah. Don't curse it. All right.
Although, you know, let's talk soccer here for a second. I'm going to quote you some stats here. 54, 1-7. 54, 1-7 over the last 2 years.
Any professional sport, that's amazing.
A 16-point lead with 14 points left. The last time Liverpool won was 1989, if I'm not mistaken, year before the Premier League when it was just called Division One. So as good as they've been, they have never won a Premier League title. In the 30 years the Premier League has been in existence.
Bizarre. Yeah.
This could be not only because to go undefeated as they are this year, losing one game, 24 games, 23 games there. They're 23 games into the season. They're 22-0-1. They play tomorrow to catch up with the other guys when they should pummel West Ham, which will put them to 23-0-1 and a 19-point lead with 14 games left.
It's amazing. At that level of professional athlete and performer, that's amazing.
I'm going to say if they end this year undefeated, this will be the greatest professional team.
I agree.
I mean, that's a sport that's very close, like baseball. You know, that I agree. It's pretty. I don't know the game well, but that's remarkable. In that
And they celebrate the championship when they win it. In essence, they present the trophy. They pull down the pennants. They do it all when they win. So right now they're projected to win with 8 games left in the year. 8 games. 38 game schedule.
it's funny.
So, I mean, that'll be kind of cool because at that point you're just kind of waiting to see which teams will get eliminated from the Premier League. Of course,
Yeah.
you have relegation
Yeah.
there. But,
Wow. That's
It doesn't
insane.
sound like a team that won't want to win those last 8, though.
no,
They're
well,
probably going to try to run that table too. So
you're going to create a mark that'll never be beat.
yeah.
You do it. Never be beat. When they clinch, you guys will sing.
Oh God, are we singing again? Shit.
I'm gonna have to pump, fix my vocal cords or something. So
You fix them. And we'll leave you tonight by saying, go Dukes.
that's it. Big game
You're
tomorrow.
going tomorrow.
Play well on TV.
Peter.
Be competitive. Play well on TV. It's been a rough couple weeks for the Dukes.
But that's a big game tomorrow.
Huge.
Shoo shoo rah rah.
Huge.
Rah-rah indeed.
Yep. Enjoy it, Dave.
You have a good night, gentlemen, and we'll see you next week.
Jim. Yep.